a 38-year-old black man was unjustifiably killed at the Jefferson City Correctional Facility. Last Thursday, October 24th, we filed an amended 15-count federal civil rights amended complaint detailing this unjustified and brutal murder of Othel Moore. We are here today to share that video. We also want to recognize and give credit to Mr. Locke Thompson, who is a prosecutor with Cole County, who has boldly and with integrity charged 4 officers with felony murder and 1 officer with second-degree involuntary manslaughter. Let's be clear, this is one of the biggest civil rights prison death cases in America. Similar to George Floyd, Othel was crying out, screaming out, "I can't breathe," while being witnessed by inmates and others at the facility. What you're going to witness today on the video that we will share some of it with you and then we will release it publicly, is you will see failure on every level by the Missouri Department of Corrections. What you will witness today is failure by the warden of the Jefferson City Correctional Center and the members working as part of the staff at the Jefferson City Correctional Department. The other very disturbing aspect of this case is the lack of care by the Centurion Health, the medical staff that on every step in this situation failed to protect and preserve and respect the sanctity of Othel's health. On the website, Centurion Health's website, they claim to be a, quote, a beacon for innovative healthcare solutions tailored for correctional facilities. They go on to quote, patient care is their top priority. Well, what you will witness on the video from December 8th, 2023 is the inactions and actions of Centurion Health and their team that resulted in part to the death of Othel Moore. The Missouri Department of Corrections has failed the Moore family. The Jefferson City Correctional Center has failed the Moore family. And the healthcare team from Centurion have failed this family. Briefly, let me just say, this all started with a search team called the CERT team, Corrections Emergency Response Team. And this rogue unit went in searching cells and inmates at the facility that day. So it started with an unconstitutional search and seizure. It ended with Othel handcuffed, Othel legs shackled, Othel blood coming out of his mouth, spit mask placed over his head, a helmet forced over his head. You will see on the video Othel put in a restraint device cart, wheeling him out of the prison day room. You will then see 30 agonizing minutes of Othel in a dry room or day room, struggling to breathe, struggling to survive for over 30 minutes. So what we want to share with you today is, first of all, you should please read the amended lawsuit, which was filed last week, that details all of the 15 counts in the complaint and provides factual perspective. But what we're about to show, we're going to show a couple clips from the video evidence from the prison that shows the unjustified and tragic murder of Othel Moore. This is the day room. I mean, this is the room inside the general area at the prison that you're watching now. If you look on the left part of the screen, you will see Othel Moore. Obviously, they were searching many inmates in the prison that day. Then you see fast forward, and again, we'll share and publish all this video. You will see them bringing Othel Moore into the dry room. Here it is right here. Now, take close notice to the restraint, shackled, spit mask, helmet, and for over 30 minutes, you see them watch and witness Othel struggling to breathe, struggling to live. Please continue to watch. You'll see the different parts of this that we share. Checking on him every once in a while, intermittently, but not really checking on him, just looking at him, doing nothing while a 38-year-old black man is struggling to breathe, struggling to stay alive. Once again, minutes later, taking a look in, doing absolutely nothing. Minutes later, again, more officers. Seems like they finally realize something might be wrong. And momentarily, you'll see additional folks come into the dry cell. Is this the last one? And we'll show you the end where a few additional staff finally come into the dry cell. No sense of urgency. Imagine if that was your son, your brother, left to die in a dry cell, no medical treatment, helmet, spit mask, shackled like an animal. So finally, after all that inaction, no care, additional officers come into the dry cell. Then finally, you see Othel um, carted out of the dry cell. So we will be sending everyone this video, so they'll have the video as well as the amended lawsuit. The other thing that's really important about Othel Moore's case, because his sister Oriel, his mother Doris, don't want this to happen to anyone else, is there's a pattern and practice issue within the Missouri Department of Corrections and specifically at the Jefferson City Correctional Center. And my partner, co-counsel partner, Stephen Hart's going to talk about the pattern and practice in the Missouri Department of Corrections.
Thank you, Andrew. My name is Stephen Hart with the Chicago law firm of Hart, McLaughlin, and Eldridge. It is absolutely my honor and privilege to represent this lovely family, along with Larry Disparty, Andrew Stroth, and Ben. What you just saw on that video was bound to happen. It's the way that the Missouri Department of Corrections treats their inmates. It's happened for years. There is a disproportionate percentage of deaths occurring in the Missouri prison system that's beyond any prison system that we've been able to identify. It is the definition of cruel and unusual punishment. And the systemic problem that exists within the Missouri prison system, and specifically the Jefferson City Correctional Center, was on full display in the video. The nonchalant manner in which the guards observed Othel like a zoo animal behind glass, encased in straps and restraints and hoods and helmets and masks. Nobody should be treated in that fashion. That is the definition of cruel and unusual punishment, protected against by the Constitution's 8th Amendment. So we have alleged a pattern and practice that the Missouri Correctional Department has engaged in, specifically as it relates to the CERT, or Correctional Emergency Response Team, that comes into Jefferson City and other prisons, and they do what's called a flip search. Very routine, very aggressive, very illegal, we've alleged. And they pull everyone out of their cells. Othel had done nothing wrong the night that he was killed by guards. And what you hear, and people have heard stories for a long time that, prison's not a nice place to be. We all recognize that and appreciate that. And you hear stories that inmates sometimes get harmed or injured at the hands of other inmates. Again, disturbing and unfortunate. But what you don't hear is inmates being killed and murdered by the very people that have taken an oath to protect them. Othel was paying his debt to society. He did it in a respectful way. You'll hear that. And he had done nothing wrong on the night and day of this event. He was extracted from his jail cell like all others, and they were attempting to restrain him. Othel's a larger man, and anybody that had been in that prison knows that he required what's called a double cuff. His wrists and forearms are too large for a single cuff. So he simply asked, "Hey, just to remind you, I require a double cuff." So in response to that request, which was too much for the CERT team, they pepper sprayed him. And that was an illegal maneuver. They had no basis to pepper spray him, and you certainly can't pepper spray someone at a distance of less than 6 feet. That's against policy, it's against protocol, and it's against his human rights, and it's cruel and unusual punishment. So after they pepper sprayed him, aggravated his eyes, his nose, and his throat, then they manhandled him in a vicious way, and they put a hood over his head, restraining his airways and his ability to breathe. This is a policy, a practice, and known procedure that the Missouri Department of Correction uses. And it was a culture of indifference to the humane treatment of its prisoners, in this case, who had done nothing wrong. After applying the spit hood and the helmet, while they were bringing him down the stairs, inexcusably, he was pepper sprayed a second time, illegally, against policy, and really a dangerous procedure here because his airways were restricted by the hood that they'd put over his head and the helmet that they'd put on top of his head. He was also unable to move because he was put in this wrap restraint, mummified in a position that he could not get out of. He couldn't help himself. He was handcuffed and shackled. His feet were shackled. His hands were shackled behind his back. And he was restrained from any movement. He could not help himself. So as he could not breathe, all he could do is verbalize that he could not breathe. "Help me, I can't breathe." And with a callousness that has been known to be the response from the Missouri Department of Corrections and the CERT team, it went unresponded to in any material way. There was no help provided, no aid, no medical attention. And we've alleged all of those issues in our 50-page amended complaint. If that wasn't enough, they put him isolated in what's called a dry cell room, which is, again, a practice, a policy, and procedure instituted by the Missouri Department of Correction. It's dangerous, it's illegal, and it's in violation of his constitutional rights. They could not and did not respond to his pleas for help. As he slowly struggled to take his last breath, they viewed him behind the glass of this dry cell. No effort to assist, no care to help him or how he was doing. He was shaking and obviously moving in an agitated way because he couldn't breathe. I think most people, from time to time in their life, think about the worst possible way to die. Imagine the worst possible, most painful way to die. And surely this is most people's worst nightmare. Being unable to move, mummified, shackled, with a hood over your face and mouth and head, and being unable to breathe, and slowly gasping for your last breath, knowing no one's going to come to your aid. Can you imagine what those last moments were like for Othel? And finally, his body succumbed. and this was predictable, and this was a matter of practice for the CERT team and for the Missouri Correction Department. And we've alleged as much. This reign of terror that they asserted over their prisoners resulted in Othel Moore fighting and grasping for his last breath for 23 minutes. 23 minutes. And so he has left behind a very loving and caring sister whom he spoke to every day for hours, and his mother who has special needs and requires and thought she would get the assistance of her son when he served his time. Othel also had dreams, and he told them to his sister. He wanted to open up a coffee shop and provide a place of comfort for people to talk and share common experiences and make the world a little better place. That was all taken from him and his sister and his mother because the pattern and practices established, encouraged by the Missouri Department of Corrections at the highest possible levels. So we've sued the director of the Missouri Department of Corrections. We sued the warden for the Jackson City Correctional Center, and we're going to hold them accountable for these outrageous crimes that they've committed against Othel and his family and society. So stay tuned, folks, and we look forward to prosecuting this case. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Stephen. So what's next? What's next is Andrew Stroh, Stephen Hart, Larry Disparty, Ben Stelter-Embry, and our team are going to continue to advance the civil case. What's also next is Locke Thompson and the Cole County Prosecutor's Office is going to advance the criminal case against the officers involved and responsible for the death of Othel. We will be sending you out. If you go to dispartylaw.com, you can find a copy of the complaint, the amended complaint. You can find a copy of the videos. We will post that. And if you have further information, you can reach our law firms. Thank you very much. And I think, as Stephen pointed out, Othel is not coming back. And we want to work with the family to advance the litigation so this doesn't happen to anyone else. Thank you.